Hello, everyone. This is the Astrology Divas. I am Astrologer Dawn, and you are
Mary Dalba. Hey, everyone.
And you can find out information about us individually at mine is astrologerdawn.com and
marydalba.com.
And keep an eye out for a new channel, that's website, which will be the Astrology Divas. So we've had that for years. We've just not done anything about it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about relocated charts. What are they? How do they work? What's the benefit of having one? And do you need one? I guess that's the best way to start.
Gosh.
So we're all born on a date, in a place, and at a time that cannot be changed.
Nope.
Okay. That is what we use to create your astrological chart. So I'm just going to do mine for a second. Let's see it. So this one is one that I created for myself. As you can see, it's got the time I was born, the date I was born, and where I was born. And when you plug those into now we use computers. We didn't when I first started, but now you have computer programs. It just prints you out an entire chart. Okay, so this is my natal chart. And as you can see, I've got the sun in the 6th house. I've got Mercury in the 6th house. I've got Mars in the 6th house. I've got Saturn in the 6th house. And talk about having to work hard. I don't think I'd want to live there, because to me, that's all about work, like having to work hard. So when you move more than 100 miles away from where you were born, you end up with what's called a relocated chart. So I live in Chandler, Arizona, and this is my chart now. Let me see, can I do this? Probably like that. So as you can see, it's moved around the wheel. All the planets and the houses, all the planets are in the same sign at the same degree. But it's as if I was born here in Chandler, Arizona. When you move me to Chandler, Arizona, notice my sun sign is now in the 10th house. You know, I've got Venus and Mercury both in the 9th house. I've got more 9th and 10th house planets in this particular area of the world. So this tells me I've got the sun in the 10th house, Mercury in the 10th house. The negative, I've got Saturn in the 2nd. We've all got lessons that we have to learn. But what it does is it changes your rising sign. So my rising sign was Aries. And actually I moved to Philadelphia first, and that gave me a lot of planets in the 8th house. I think I was Scorpio rising there. And then also when I moved to Arizona, now I'm Sagittarius rising. So your rising sign changes, your personality changes. Sometimes that can be a positive, sometimes that can be a negative. For me, it doesn't really make that much of a difference because I was an Aries rising anyway. So that's a fire sign, and I'm still a fire sign rising.
With the Sag,
Yeah. So it doesn't, it probably changed the focus more onto learning and teaching and spiritual learning and higher learning because of the Sag rising. So, and you have to be 100 miles away because otherwise it won't change.
So do you recommend I think if you are thinking about moving,
did
you do this before you moved? Did you run some relocated charts before you moved?
Absolutely. I did them I did them from Pennsylvania. So I did them for Tucson, Arizona, San Diego, California, and Seattle, Washington. And Tucson, Arizona was the best in terms of work energy, because I didn't know I was going to be doing what I'm doing now, because this was 30 years ago when I moved to Arizona. So the universe must have known. And I just looked at it and I was like, oh, I like that one. I like the chart that gives me. It's a lot of, 10th house, which means work. I'll have plenty of work and be able to create the work that I want. And then the 9th house, teaching, learning, the spiritual stuff. I was all for that. So it's not that much different in California and Washington, but it's enough of a difference to make certain planets more powerful than others, because we're all born on planetary lines. So the only line I was born under is a Jupiter line. Jupiter was in the 8th house. Excuse me, I was born on a Jupiter line, and my Jupiter's in Scorpio. So, and it's in the 8th house. So I have a lot of luck with psychological stuff, you know, and also people who've got quite a bit of Scorpio. Who has Scorpio in them? You do. Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
So, but understanding things psychologically.
Right.
So you can learn a lot about your personality, and also what is the energy of the area that you're living in? Is it tough? Is it hard? I mean, yes, I've got Sun and Mercury in the 10th house, but I also have Saturn in the 2nd house. So I'm living on a Saturn line as well. Saturn is obstacles and challenges you're here to overcome, karma. This is simplified version. 2nd house is money and possessions, beliefs. Well, my beliefs completely changed when I moved to Arizona. That's also when I had children. You know, my kids were homeschooled. So that's, again, this is something unusual, something different. The Saturn in the 2nd doesn't necessarily have to be a negative, because it can be, what are your beliefs? And are there obstacles and challenges in the way of the beliefs that you have? Right. So, you know, you can certainly look at the lines that you have and discover, is there, what's holding me back here? What do I need to be aware of? But also, what is giving me positive energy?
Right.
So when somebody wants to relocate, if they're American, first of all, I remind them, if you're American, you can't just go live in any other country if you feel like it, just because you're an American. I know it's unfortunate, but you know, let's change it. You know, so I work on keeping it within the States, obviously. And I do an interview because I need to find out certain things first. So, for example, I want to know places that you've lived and if you liked them or didn't like them, because I run charts for them to see, well, what was going on there. Also, I ask questions like, you know, how do you feel about humidity or dry heat? Because I have a lot of people who say, I am not living in the desert. Do not send me anywhere to the desert. So I'm like, okay, so I make notes of that, you know, or I have to live by the ocean. Well, that just gives me east, west, and some of Texas, you know, so I have to be aware of that. So I ask about, you know, topography. Also, do you want to live in a big or a small place? You know, a big town, a big city, a small town? What do you want? What speaks to you? I also ask if people have anything specific that they need to take care of that could only be taken care of in like a bigger city, a relatively bigger city. Such as hospitals, you know, because they've got top-notch hospitals and stuff like that. But also things like if people are in recovery, they need to be near AA meetings or NA meetings. So, you know, if you tell me that you're in recovery, I'm going to take that into account when you move somewhere as well, because I don't want to be sending you somewhere where Jupiter is going to activate your addictions.
Or Neptune's going to be running wild.
Or Neptune's going to be running wild, yeah. And it really is to look at what it is that this place will bring you.
Right. Because you know, you have to think about when you go on vacation, say, and the energy is just so different of the different places you go. You know, if you're considering a move, it's just so important, I think, to do your relocated chart to see, you know, if your chart is moving enough that it puts a bunch of things in your place, that's going to be, oh, this is going to be a really hard road. If you go to this place. You know?
I told a client that the other day. She just started to think about moving. And I said, oh, thank God. And she goes, why'd you say that? And I go, well, I remember a long time ago, I told you that you were born on a Saturn line, which is obstacles and challenges you're here to overcome. And it's in the 4th house of home and family. And look at what's happened. You've been through 2 marriages and divorces. You keep meeting the wrong guys. You've moved around in that area, but you've never found your home because you're in the wrong place.
Right.
So I managed to send her somewhere else in the country, and she loved it. She didn't have any of the issues anymore that she'd had living where she was born. So sometimes it's that. I wouldn't, I mean, would I go back to England and live? Health, work, and service, I guess. Probably not. I don't know that it would give me enough. I mean, I don't think it would give me enough of what I need. I could go there as a psychologist and be very successful. That I could do. So we'll have to see. But it's the weather for me. It's the weather. You can't change the weather in England. So it's too great. It's nice. It's a lovely place to visit.
Absolutely.
I just wouldn't want to live there.
Isn't it? I agree. And I like to come home.
Yes, exactly. I wouldn't mind right now. It's 109 here in Arizona today. So I wouldn't mind being in England with its rain and cold weather in the summer. I wouldn't mind that, but I don't think I'd last very long. No. I don't think I'd last very long.
No.
So, there's some people that want to be relocated because of the weather. Some people because they want great relationships, or they've been having terrible relationships. Well, we can relocate you to get better relationships, to get the job that you want, to do the kind of work that you want, to have the home that you want. You just have to look at the chart and see what's going on, and see what lines are powerful where you are at.
Right.
Because those are the ones that are going to dictate success in whatever area it is that you're looking for success in.
Yeah, that's amazing, Dawn. I don't think everybody realizes that when they move, the chart changes. So
I always I run both, but I always look at the relocated chart in terms of what's going on right now, because it doesn't really matter what's going on in England astrologically for me. It only matters what's going on in Arizona, because this is where I live. And of course, when you compare today's chart with what's going on, what would be going on for me in England, as opposed to what would be going on for me in Arizona, it's very different.
Right.
It's very different.
Yeah.
So it's very fascinating. It's a fascinating to see, and it explains a lot. A lot of times people will say, "Oh, that's why this keeps happening," or "Oh yeah, I've always had that feeling about this place." Exactly. I have people with Uranus in the 4th house, and they're like, "Oh, I never felt settled in that place," and I'm like, "I know, you're never going to. You're going to keep moving. It's not going to be right for you. Let's find you a better place. Let's find Venus in the 4th house somewhere." And if you can live anywhere in the world, of course, I do charts. So if you're like me and you've got dual citizenship, or my brother that's got, I don't know, he's got Canadian, American, British, and Irish citizenship. If you've got other citizenship or a way to live in another country, until we go into the world where there are no borders anymore, which will happen, probably not in our lifetime, but that is where we're going for humanity, as we've entered into this 800-year age of Aquarius. The world is going to become one, whether you like it or not. And if you don't like it, you're probably really old and don't want to change. And that's okay. That's okay, because you won't be here to see it anyway. So it's fine. That's the way I've been looking at things lately.
That's all right.
That's all right. If you don't like it, that's fine.
That's fine.
Things can change anyway.
Well, so if someone wants to get their chart done, Dawn.
Yes, they can check out astrologydawn.com and find me through that. And also, you do charts too, and you do many, many other things. How can people find you?
marydalba.com. That's how you can find me.
Very simple. Before we go, poem, which I absolutely love, and I would get tattooed on my back, but it's too many words. When you come to the end of all the light you know, and it's time to step into the darkness of the unknown, faith is knowing that one of two things shall happen. Either you'll be given something solid to stand on, or you'll be taught how to fly. We'll see you next time.
See you next time, everyone.
Namaste. Hold on, Kath.